Hello, everyone. I am Mark L. Vincent. I'm privileged to direct the Convene Consulting Network. And these are a series of wonderful conversations with people who are talented, have deep experience, and can offer some great information for you who lead businesses. And today I'm joined by Wayne Kurzen, who is an EOS implementer. He's had a fascinating career. And I think rather than me reading that off, Wayne, I want to start there with you and ask you just a little bit about the career that brought you to this place. Because there's something about your experience set that brought you to this moment where you said, I want to be available as a resource to other business leaders. So I'd just like you to just walk us through that resume.
All right. Well, we'll begin at the beginning. I grew up on a dairy farm in Ohio, and to escape milking cows twice a day, I went to Ohio State.
Ho-ho.
And to escape the Vietnam draft, I got an Air Force ROTC and ended up spending 20 years there, pilot, commander, faculty, teaching leadership.
Wow.
Upon retirement, I flew for Delta for about 15 years. And while I was with Delta, I had several businesses. One in particular was a startup. I started a business importing decorative brass drapery hardware.
That's a very niche market.
Right. But anyway, so in about 18 months, we were actually a supplier to the Home Depot Expo stores that don't exist anymore, but we had a 24-foot display in the store there. Upon retiring at Delta, I was looking for my next career, and I thought I was going to do real estate investing, and God saved me. This is back in 2003, because 2008 wasn't that far away. And I ended up buying a business coaching franchise, which I had for 5 years. And then I was a Rockefeller Habits Scaling Up Burn Harnish coach for about 5 years, did public workshops for Burn. And then about 7 years ago, I landed on EOS. Actually, I had read the book Traction before, and I thought, hey, these are some pretty cool tools, and I was using some of them. But I didn't realize it was a complete system. And so I landed on the website. 2 weeks later, I stroked the check, and I was getting in training to become a professional certified implementer. And it's really been a game changer for me, in that I feel like it's a game changer for the people I work with. Mm-hmm. Back in the 70s, I read a book called In Search of Significance by Robert McGee. You may be familiar with that.
I sure recognize the name, yeah.
Yeah, so, and it's really about how we are searching for significance, and we get a treadmill of performance and things of that nature. But what I took out of that is that we have two basic needs. First is to be loved, and second, to be significant. And outside of our significance as to who we are in Christ, I think we have a significance here that we earn, and I think that's making a difference in other people's lives. And so that's kind of the driving force that keeps me doing this. I'm certainly old enough to retire, but I don't want to.
Well, I'm glad you're not retired, because you certainly are making a difference with your clients, and they sure report wonderful outcomes from working with you. So you just walked us through an iteration of the many different models you've looked at. And these models, even if they're mediocre, are things that if someone has sustained attention and drive, they're going to have some success. Yeah. But you've had a unique opportunity here to evaluate a great number of them. And somehow you landed on EOS as one that you really found favorable. So can you just tell us more about that?
Sure. And yes, I have looked at a lot of different business operating systems. It's a way to run a business. The thing that drew me to EOS is, number one, it was simple to understand. And the founder, Gino Wickman, if he has one great talent, is the ability to simplify. And EOS has been around for about 19 years now, so it's proven. The second thing is it has a set of simple tools that, by virtue of learning and using these tools, you actually become stronger in the various areas of your business. And the third thing then is it has a proven process for implementing. And you put those three together, and it's just a powerful package. And so I have found, even clients that I had before in other systems, I've converted them to EOS, and we just see a big difference in performance. The average growth rate, even through all the different years, is around 23% on the top line, and usually much more than that on the bottom line.
So could you just give a little bit more window into what a business operating system is in general? Just strikes me that some folks might trip on that just a little
Yeah.
bit.
So the analogy I like to use is Windows is an operating system on your laptop. And you're not doing a lot of keystrokes and mouse movements directly with Windows. You're working in the applications. But we also know that if Windows gets corrupt, those applications don't work very well. So EOS is a business operating system, and it's sort of the glue that holds everything together. And so it's just a way of running a business. Now, everyone has a way of running a business. In some, it's chaos. But anyway, it's a way to run a business.
Sure. Well, thank you. And so then let me just move into another question that builds off of that. Any model like EOS as an operating system requires some building, and it requires some tracking. It requires sustained and focused attention. Otherwise, you've got all these bells and whistles, you're not using them, or you've got this capacity that you're not touching. So I want to kind of flip that. What are the things in the people who have to run it that get in the way of them actually implementing well, evaluating well, sustaining, and seeing the value that's there for them? What gets in their way?
All right. So maybe I'll just describe our sweet spot. That's a business with 10 to 250 employees in ownership that truly wants more from the business. So they're usually well-run businesses, but they still want more. And oftentimes the CEO is a member of a peer group like Convene. But that question I'm asked, well, how do I know it's going to work? Well, who could prove that? But the reason it doesn't work across the board is people don't listen and they don't follow it. They have to create a new system and make it better. And with a 19-year track record in the 7 years I've been here, it hasn't changed because it's simple blocking and tackling. There's no silver bullets. So the big thing is there needs to be a commitment to, and then we work with the leadership team. So the leadership team, after a few sessions, they need to be 100% on board with this, or possibly they're the wrong people. Mm-hmm. So, and the system is really great at exposing the wrong people. So, does that cover your?
I think so. As people have these obstacles in their way to sustain their attention, I think you've described some of those. I would just want to go a little bit a little further. How do you help them overcome them? We got some people who are misaligned with their job. We've got a reporting problem. Whatever. Right. What is there that helps them move past those obstacles?
So, in my 18 years of doing this, I find that most issues fall into 5 categories. The first one is control, lack of control. Yeah, when you started, you were kind of in control, but you've grown, and now it's you can't. You wake up at night looking at the fan and you can't go back to sleep. Control is one. Second is profit and lack of, if I need to clarify that.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, in fact, we often find we're not making the profit that we thought we were going to make when we got started. Mm-hmm. The third thing, and this shocks a lot of people, but it's people. Mm-hmm. 82.4% of the people who we work with say they're not getting all they want from their people. So that can be wrong people, wrong seats. That can be tension. That can be fighting. Even amongst family members in a business, there can be tension. I know you're all surprised about that. The fourth thing is what we call hitting the ceiling. And it's just a natural phenomenon that businesses don't grow in a straight line. They grow and plateau off. Some never break through that plateau. So we hit the ceiling, and I kind of call that no man's land. You're too big to be small, too small to be big. But that's a big frustration. And then the last one is what we call flavor of the month. We're trying something new every month. And the owner is a visionary guy, and he reads a book or he goes to a peer group thing and he comes back with a great idea, and we got to start that one now. And so just bouncing around. So what EOS does is it addresses those 5 areas of typical issues. And I can give you just a brief overview of what that looks like. So when you embrace EOS, it does 3 things, and we call it vision, traction, and healthy. Vision from the standpoint of everyone in the whole organization is on the same page with where you're at, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. The second thing we call traction, which is the execution element. And so you take that vision and you execute it with discipline and accountability Everybody knows what's their role and they know what they're accountable for. And then the third thing is what we call healthy, and that's an open, honest, transparent leadership team. And we have found that leaders don't always play well together. So sometimes that's the biggest obstacle. But we work very hard on developing trust in the leadership team so they can function in the manner that they should. The other thing I would say is, as a little blueprint, is that Gino figured out there were 6 areas that exist in every business, and to the degree you became successful in those 6 areas, that would be the measure of your true success. And so I don't have time to go into them, but I would just say this. The first part is the vision, who you are, where you're going, how you're going to get there. Then people, getting the right people in the right seats. When you have those 2 elements, if you don't have good, rock-solid data or metrics or KPIs, you just don't know where you're at. And funny thing happens when you have good KPIs and metrics is that you see lots of issues. They were probably there, you just didn't see them. So our 4th element is what we call the issues element. And this is a way of identifying, tracking, prioritizing, but more importantly, solving issues. There's so much talk, and very little happening in these meetings. This totally turns that upside down. Then the 5th component is the process. And so this is where you pick the 20% of your processes to give you 80% of your return, document them in a very simple format. And so one of the biggest problems with the process is they're just not followed. So we build into that a way of making sure they're being followed. And the last thing is the traction element. And that's taking that vision and executing it with discipline. So that's the model, those 6 things that we're using and teaching tools that actually create greater strength in each one of those.
Yeah. I'm finding across the board with all kinds of organizations and all kinds of processes they use and all kinds of tools they use. So it could be EOS, it could be Salesforce, it could be some other kind of enterprise management system that's tracking all the inputs from inventory through the manufacturing process, some kind of an HR system that they're using. And the lack of discipline often comes from the, hey, there's a feature here I don't like, so I'm not doing it. And somebody becomes an obstacle along the way. So I just wondered if you could comment briefly about folks who put themselves as an obstacle in the process. Why does that happen? And how do we overcome that? Whether it's EOS or anything else, you certainly have to be running into that issue on a regular basis.
Certainly. First of all, EOS is not an app. It's a set of tools. Now, we do have a couple of apps that actually help you manage the paperwork, if you will, but it's really a human capital management system because that's where it all is really taking place. I remember when I was looking at EOS, I was used to coaching business owners weekly, and I said to Gino, how do you have accountability if you're only seeing your client every 90 days? And he said, so I said, who's holding them accountable? And he said, they do it to themselves. The leadership team develops an attitude. If you said you're going to do it and you don't do it, you're letting us down. Okay. So it really turns that part around.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So did that kind of cover it, or?
I think I'll just move right into the next question because you touched on what a very simple thing. And that's what I'm experiencing with these systems is that if you say, look, if we can boil it down to the simplest, most elemental expression, we can see it, we can do it, we can track it, we can report on it, we can evaluate it, and then we can start that cycle again. Right. So what I'd like to ask then, as you moved more deeply into your experience at building businesses, and now as one who is talking with folks, figuring out if EOS is for them or not, and that kind of thing, what is something that you wish you had known earlier? Like you're thinking, oh, if I had only known this when I was a younger man getting into this stuff, I would have just ridden that horse even faster and further.
Well, first of all, is I wish I had found EOS sooner. But the thing that I discovered is that, like a lot of us entrepreneurs, we have to make it better. And so I took all my knowledge from others and I would take it and I'd try to, twist EOS a little bit. And that was a total waste of 2 years doing that. So, because it just is amazing how solid the system is. And truly a business, the best thing to do is experience one of the training sessions. They last about a day long, but after a session or two, if you're not getting it, you should fire me, or I should fire you, one or the other, because it's a system that works, but it may not work for you. And we're all different, and we understand that. But the thing I wish I'd done early on is not try to make it better.
Yeah, thank you. Now, I'm going to ask you in just a moment, kind of as we wrap this up, a question about some kind of a resource that you would put in front of folks, or if they wanted to know more, where they might go. Before we do that, Wayne, I've learned a little something about you as we've become acquainted, and that is you don't see EOS as the only nail to pound. Like there are other things that someone might need. And I just wanted to point that out because there's some sensitivity in our networks among folks that are like, people are just trying to sell me the same stuff or sell me. And I've learned to know you as somebody who cares about the client and listens to them well before you decide. So I just wonder if you could give us a quick story. This wasn't a question I asked you to prepare for. It's just one that's here now. A story where you were meeting with someone and EOS was just not for them. That they needed something else. Just so that we're painting a bigger picture here.
Well, that is true. It's not for everyone. Sometimes the business is just too small. It's 2 or 3 people. I might say, here's a book, and here you can sign up and get on this webinar and learn some stuff. But I think the big thing about EOS is one of our real value props is this: there's no contract. Oh. So if we get together and we spend 90 minutes with your leadership team explaining exactly how EOS works, how I work with my clients, and that's really kind of a get to know each other and decide if you really want to pursue getting to know it better. And if so, then we start on a journey. It's typically about a 2-year journey, about 10 sessions. They're full-day sessions. And so we start on the journey. We schedule the first session, no contract. At the end of that session, if you don't think you got the value, you just don't pay. We shake hands and are friends. So, yeah, it's not for everyone. If a person always wants to make it better, they tend to just kind of mess the system up, and it doesn't get what they were hoping for. So, so I think that's the big thing is you got to experience it, because the thing that most people don't like about us business advisors, coaches, consultants is, am I going to get a good ROI on this thing? Mm-hmm. So that's the beauty of EOS is you get to experience it and then decide if you did, then you pay for it.
Okay. So thank you. So if someone wants to go deeper, understand it's just a bit more, what's a resource you'd want to put in their hands?
Okay.
So they could, kind of evaluate EOS if that's the kind of system they'd like to pursue.
So I would say EOS is probably the best documented business system out there. We have 5 books that describe different aspects. The book that's kind of the textbook is called Traction, and that explains the system. It's, like I said, more of a textbook. We have another book called Get a Grip, which is a story of a company. So I would say get a hold of a book like Traction, or we actually have a new book called What the Heck is EOS? And I would be happy to send either What the Heck is EOS or Traction to anyone that reaches out to me, and we have just a quick conversation, no strings attached.
Well, very good. Wayne, I want to thank you for the time that you've given for this conversation. I think you painted a very thorough portrait so someone could decide, is this a conversation I'd like to have and to go further? And if you've been listening to this, we're going to flash up Wayne's contact information where you can reach out. And as you said, Wayne, you'd be glad to send them a book. So I want to thank you all for watching this, and I want to wish you well as you continue to try and honor God in this very special and unique time of figuring it out as you lead your businesses. May God bless you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.